الشقافة is the modern Arabic name for an area previously known by the ancient Greek name Keramakos, and was called this name due to the large amount of remaining ruins of buildings in the area that has been left there throughout the ages. الشقافة catacombs were discovered completely by accident in 1900 when a donkey and a cart fell through a hole into one of the second-level chambers closer to the surface above. The catacomb itself is one of many cemeteries that were popular throughout the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd centuries in Italy and various Greek islands. It is believed that some of these tombs were thought to even be for Christians, with signs of prayers of the new religion etched onto some of the graves, as well as being a refuge for them from the wrath of the different emperors of the empire. الشقافة catacombs have the remarkable characteristic of reaching 3 stories underground, which was most likely an influence dating back from the older pharaonic tombs located in Thebes, which were famous for being buried very deeply underground. The catacomb's entrance begins with a spiral staircase surrounding a well from which the dead were lowered by ropes. The stairs end on the 1st floor in a foyer, which in turn leads to a circular chamber containing another well. To the left of this room is a celebration hall in which the friends and relatives of the deceased would gather during the festivals and memorials, etc. On the other side of the room were located the tunnels and openings in which the bodies themselves or their cremated remains were kept. Interspersed throughout were niches made especially for torch stands. The most unique aspect between this catacomb and others in Italy or Greece must be the decorative art found within, which is a rare mix between Roman and Ptolemaic pharaonic styles. something made possible since Alexander I set foot in Egypt, and there arose a mix between Greek and Egyptian arts. Caracalla Hall was so named due to the large amount of youth and horse skeletons found within, which led people to believe that it may be connected to the massacre carried out by Emperor Caracalla, officially known as Caesar Marcus Aurelius Severus, on Alexander's citizens in 215. It was as revenge for the spurning contempt they showed towards him. The emperor had them all rounded up in the stadium before slaughtering them. Others believe that the horse skeletons are the remnants of local competing sporting champions, who were laid to rest there after their death in the Hall of Nike, who personified victory and was an epithet of the goddess Athena, whom amongst other things was the goddess of strategy and heroic endeavor. The second floor is comprised of a foyer and a circular chamber. The face of the foyer appears Romantic in its curved shape and is surmounted with Greco-Roman etchings in the shape of teeth, below which is a ledge showing Egyptian art as a winged sun between two falcons, overviewing two columns with Egyptian crowns upon them. On each of the side walls, there is an opening upon which stands a representation of the deceased. To the right is a representation of the deceased himself, and to the left is a representation of his wife. The stance and the clothes are Egyptian in style. However, the woman is seen naked in the Greek style, and the details of the face and hair are Roman in nature and can be attributed to the Antonine dynasty in the mid-2nd century. The face of the door leading into the funerary chamber also has pharaonic carvings on it, again with a ledge upon it showing a serpent's head on top of a winged sun. On either side of the door are uniquely Ptolemaic carvings that reflect both pharaonic and Greek origins. These carvings were used to ward off evil from the tombs and protect those within, as can be seen by the shield of Athena, on top of which was affixed the head of the Gorgon, Medusa, which was said to turn all those that looked at it into stone. The funerary chamber itself is supported by 4 square columns, which have 2 papyrus crowns at their apex. In between, there are 3 rectangular openings in the walls, with Greek carved tombs within. These carvings include festoons, rat skulls, grapevines, and, of course, the head of Medusa to ward off evil. Above the middle tomb is a depiction of the Egyptian god Anubis as he mummifies Osiris, who is lying on a bed carved into the likeness of a lion carrying the feather of truth in its paws. Surrounding the funerary chamber, one will find more than 300 burial niches, especially created to bury those followers of the goddess Nemesis. Tigran Catacomb. These catacombs were first discovered in 1952 and named after the street they were found in at the time, Tigran Street, which later became Port Said Street. The history of this tomb date back to the late 1st and early 2nd centuries and took their name solely from the street they were found in at the time. This subterranean tomb contains 3 sarcophagi and has a funerary chamber similar to that of الشقافة, main funerary chamber. Here again we find representations of Osiris himself on the central sarcophagus, facing the entrance, his dispatch to the other world on the right, and his idolization on the left. To the left and right are pictured a person wearing Egyptian clothing and carrying holy utensils in his hands. 2 snakes, probably representations of Osiris and Isis and their wisdom, protect and flank him. The ceiling itself is depicted as a god, and again we find Medusa's head portrayed in its center. In the 4 corners of the room are depictions of various plants and animals, probably as a portrayal of the expected afterlife of the deceased.